They called the cops on me for floating my own houseboat into my own lake. It all started on a Tuesday morning. The skies were clear, the birds were chirping, and I decided to finally do something bold. I had just finished building my dream. A solar-powered, 2-story floating houseboat with a wraparound deck and glass-paneled walls. After years of living the rancher life on 400 acres in the outskirts of town, I figured it was time to blend luxury with freedom. I'd already excavated a deep, serene lake right in the center of my property, Lake Marigold, named after my late grandmother. And this houseboat was meant to float right there in peace. But the minute I launched it, all peace vanished. Within 7 minutes, 2 black SUVs rolled up to my front gate and 3 furious-looking HOA board members climbed out like they were about to declare war. I wasn't even part of their HOA. My land wasn't under their jurisdiction. My ranch had been family-owned for generations, long before the HOA's manicured suburban community even existed. But that didn't stop them. One of them, let's call her Karen, because if the short blonde bob and clipboard didn't give it away, the tone she used did, marched up to my gate like she was storming a fortress. She pressed the intercom and screamed, "You can't just launch a vessel like that. This is a private water system, and you're violating HOA marine code." Marine code? In a ranch lake? I answered calm as a monk. "Ma'am, this is my private lake on my private ranch with a houseboat I built myself. You're threatening our community's aquatic integrity." She barked back. What did that even mean? I could see her flailing her arms on my security feed, so I decided to step outside and meet her face to face. Karen wasn't alone. Behind her were 2 more HOA board members, both men in polos and khakis, looking like retired tennis coaches. One of them handed her a printed binder labeled Waterway Standards and Enforcements. She slapped it like a preacher on Sunday morning. "I'll have you know," she said, "your floating structure is a breach of aesthetics and could impact our property values. Not to mention, it connects through to the canal." Now, that part was true. Years ago, I'd agreed to let the town's narrow water canal run along the edge of my property for irrigation reasons. Over time, that canal became an access route to a private marina 2 miles away, used by the HOA folks for their paddle boats and ridiculous wine and cheese cruises. But the canal didn't give them the right to control my lake. Still, Karen wasn't hearing logic. She had the audacity to say, "We consider your body of water part of our extended aquatic community. So technically, your houseboat is within our jurisdiction." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Lady," I said, "this lake isn't part of your HOA. It's part of my granddad's will. I got the deed, the title, and the water rights. You're standing on land your little bylaws have no power over." She didn't like that answer. She whipped out her phone and dialed 911 right in front of me. "I'm calling the sheriff," she declared. "You are trespassing on community waters with a non-compliant vessel. Again, on my own land." Now here's where things took a sharp turn. The cops actually showed up. But not just any officers, it was Sheriff Dalton, an old family friend and someone I'd gone to high school with. When he saw Karen waving her arms and pointing toward the lake like she'd uncovered a smuggling operation, he let her rant for a full minute before walking over to me and asking quietly, "Is she for real? She thinks your private lake is HOA property?" He chuckled and turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, unless you have a warrant or court order, this man's lake and his property are outside your HOA's jurisdiction. You can't enforce anything here." Karen turned beet red. "That structure is visible from our side. It disrupts the view. It's offensive." "Then stop looking at it," I said. Dalton gave me a look, one of those don't poke the bear looks, but I was already poking. That's when Karen made her final threat. "If you don't remove that boat by the end of the day," she hissed, "we'll file a formal lawsuit against you and petition to have your water access revoked. You're going to regret this." Regret? Not likely. Especially because what happened next was something I'd been planning for a long time. See, that marina they all used? The one 2 miles away on the canal? It was privately owned. And for the past 6 months, the owner, a retiree named Carl, had been trying to sell it off so he could move to Florida. I'd been in negotiations with him under the radar, just in case I ever needed leverage against the HOA. Karen's outburst was the final push I needed. That same afternoon, I called Carl. "You still looking to sell?" I asked. "Got the papers in my drawer," he said. "Ready to go. You buying?" I wired the funds within the hour. 7 minutes later, the deed was in my inbox. I owned their precious Marina. The next day, I sent out a notice to the HOA board on official letterhead and everything. It read, "To whom it may concern, effective immediately, the Marigold Marina and all associated canal docking privileges are under new ownership. Due to multiple breaches of decorum and attempted intimidation tactics by HOA representatives, access is hereby revoked. Any further use of the marina or canal from HOA members will be considered trespassing." The fallout was delicious. By noon, I had HOA members banging on the marina gate with their little key cards trying to get in. One guy tried to scan his FOB at the entrance 10 times like it was a malfunction. Another woman stood outside crying because she'd planned her daughter's birthday boat party there. I watched the security cam footage with popcorn. But I wasn't done. I turned the marina into a public fishing club. Free access to all non-HOA residents. Weekend BBQs. Live music. Lake kayaking. You name it. The whole town loved it. The HOA? Not so much. Karen and her board tried to file a complaint, claiming I was discriminating against them. But remember that canal? It runs through my property. And as the landowner, I had every right to restrict access. They tried to fight back legally, but every attempt fell apart. Their bylaws didn't apply to me. Their jurisdiction stopped well before my gate. And now that I owned the marina, their only water access was a tiny shared dock half a mile away, one that could barely handle 2 paddle boats at a time. A month later, I hosted a lakefront concert at the marina. Hundreds showed up. Food trucks lined the lot. Even Sheriff Dalton came and played rhythm guitar in a country band. Karen? She stood on the other side of the fence, arms crossed, lips pursed, watching her control slip away. That houseboat, still floating proudly on Lake Marigold. I even added a neon sign on the deck. Private property. HOA not welcome. Sometimes people ask me why I went so hard on them. Why I bought an entire marina just to prove a point. Here's why. Because bullies in khakis with clipboards don't get to rewrite property lines. Because I worked hard to build this life. Because if you give an inch to power-hungry HOA folks, they'll redraw the whole map. And because no one, absolutely no one, gets to tell me I can't float on my own lake. So the next time someone tells you you're not allowed to enjoy what's yours, remember this story, and maybe consider buying a marina.